I don't see how carrying the dread in the country is a problem.
Lagos State, your worst.
Let me tell you something. Where you have your property is where your mind will be.
No, I don't want to join issues with Mr. Festus Keyamo, SAN, over his views, which he is perfectly entitled to, you know. But with respect to the legality of the Okobi Judicial Panel of Inquiry, I didn't listen to the program, so I want to believe that he was misquoted, because it is strike law that judicial commissions of inquiry instituted by state governments in Nigeria are legal and constitutional. As a matter of fact, in the case of Fawemi and Babangida, it was decided by the Supreme Court that the power of the president of Nigeria to set up a judicial commission of inquiry is limited to the Federal Capital Territory, and that each of the state government is empowered by the Constitution to institute commissions of inquiry to investigate any matter in the state. With respect to the Lagos state government, in the case of Williams and Dawodu, the Court of Appeal held that the Tribunal of Inquiry law in Lagos is an existing law. Anybody who is dissatisfied with his decisions can only go to court. Governor Rotimi Amechi set up the Justice Kayode Esho Panel of Inquiry in Rivers State. The panel indicted a former governor, Dr. Peter Odili. He went to court and set aside the area of the panel, the area of the report of the panel pertaining to him. So whoever is dissatisfied with the findings of the Okobi Judicial Commission can only go to court. Neither the white paper committee set up by the government or the governor, or the governor himself, with profound respect, can substitute his own findings for the finding of the panel, because the governor didn't listen to the witnesses. The white paper committee set up by the governor didn't listen to the witnesses. So they are not in a position to review the findings, the profound findings of the panel of inquiry. So all the government is limited to, with respect, is whether or not it wants to comply with the recommendations. And with profound respect to the Lagos state government, the recommendations are already being implemented. Unlike any of the other panels in the country, and I'm talking of 29 panels, 28 panels by state government and one by the federal government. It was only in the case of Lagos that the governor, because of his implicit confidence in the members, directed them to give out reparation, to pay damages to people in deserving cases. And a total sum of 409 million naira was awarded as damages to victims of human rights violations. So I can't see the government. Somebody said, oh, the panel did not say anything about the police officer that were killed. Unfortunately, police officers were killed, about 6 of them, by hoodlums, and in the case of one of them, by a fellow police officer, which is very, 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 very unfortunate. However, nobody sent a petition to the panel on that matter. But what is important to note is that the governor of Lagos State, Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu, visited the families on behalf of the state, donated 10 million naira to each of the widows, and promised on behalf of Lagos State to have their children educated up to university level. So, in other words, in fact, there is a case of a spy policeman that was killed by a mob. Our law firm, contacted the governor because the panel said our jurisdiction, our mandate does not cover this one. So we drew the attention of the government to the unfortunate incident. Again, the governor directed that some money be paid, and the money was paid to her, to the widow. So, at the point I'm making, therefore, the Lagos State government is already implementing the report. If any officer, federal or state, is recommended for prosecution, nobody can go to court and say, oh, I'm a federal officer. If you are charged, if you are accused of murder, which is a state offense, the federal government has no competence to look at. As Lagosian, not too long ago, Governor Babatunde Fashola, senior advocate of Nigeria, who is a minister, the current minister of Works and Housing, once arrested a colonel in the army, and I think a sergeant, because they drove against the traffic. And he was passing by, and asked his driver to stop, and had them arrested. He has the power under the law. You can arrest anybody. I can. If you find somebody committing an offense, and you can overpower him, the law allows you to arrest him and take him or her, him to the police station. But you can't take him to your house. You must take him to the police station.
You would have expected that people who come from a background of struggle would, even, no matter how much ridiculous they want to be, will still try to maintain, a level of decorum. But what you see is that Festus Keyamo continues to compete with Lai Mohammed, in a macabre dance of ridicule. Because that is the only way I can explain or rationalize that statement coming from him. Because he's equally a lawyer. And he ought to know that a judicial panel of inquiry set up, by a state government on the basis of a decision of the National Economic Council, is a panel that has all the power and legitimacy to act in terms of its terms of reference. In any case, this panel had been set up for over 1 year. The government at no time over the past 1 year, argued that the panel is illegal. The state government has at no time argued over the past 1 year that the panel is illegal. In fact, the state government sent representatives, to appear and testify at the panel. The police testified before the panel, aside a whole lot of organizations, and establishments. So that for the federal government to now come a year after, in order to ridicule the outcome of that panel because it does not go in favor, to now say that that panel is illegal, is a clear indication that the federal government is only preparing, to throw away the findings and recommendation of that panel, which, was a clear verdict against the Nigerian state. The reports of the panel clearly established the culpability of the Nigerian state and security agencies. That is what they want to ridicule. That is what they want to avoid to implement. And what Festus Keyamo is saying, as well as what Lai Mohammed is saying, are preparations, for the government to throw away that report. What I would just say is that they should be prepared for another mass struggle, for another nationwide mass revolt. If they think that the Nigerian youth and the Nigerian working masses are going to allow that report to be ridiculed and not to be implemented, the government itself will be unleashing on itself the anger of the mass of the population. So there's no problem if that is how they wish to go. But if they do not wish for any mass revolt, they should stop this ridiculous statement and outburst and wait, for the white paper that the Lagos State government has promised to bring out, and to also be prepared to execute any portion of the report that requires the agency of the federal government, to execute. That is the only way they can save themselves, another mass struggle in this country. But if they wish not to implement the report, then I can assure them that Nigerians, including the Nigerian youth, will troop out again in mass struggle.
To start with, the Nigerian people do not really need a panel to confirm whether people were killed or not. So let's start from that. It's obvious, people saw it, how state-sponsored thugs invaded several protest centers, how the protesters were magnanimous enough, having apprehended these protesters, these sponsored thugs, handed them over to the police. How these, guys regrouped, relaunched attacks. In case of Abuja, people's vehicles were vandalized, they were set on fire, people were killed, just not on the 20th, on the days preceding the 20th. So Nigerian people did not need a panel, first and foremost, to determine whether people were killed, whether violence was unleashed. It is, visible to the eyes that people were killed. Secondly, the panel sat, the government had an opportunity to defend itself before the panel. The people, presented evidences before the panel. So these things about the legality or otherwise of a panel is complete nonsense, with due respect, because it is insensitive to tell individuals whose families were killed that even the panel which the government set up, which, to their surprise, came out with resolutions that indicted the government that, set it up. Had that panel, given a resolution, come out with a resolution absolving the states, both at the state government level and at the federal level, and agencies of the government, including the Nigerian police, Nigerian army, absolving them of all, crimes. Would he have said that the panel, was illegal? He wouldn't. He would have praised the panel. But for the first time, in several years, you have a panel that came up with a report that does not favor the government that set it up ab initio. So this is the reason why Keyamo, should not even be taken seriously at all. The Nigerian people know very well that people were killed. State-sponsored thugs were unleashed on several protest, venues, and people are demanding for justice. Who are those armies? Who sent them? These are the things that people are, looking for. But beyond all this, the young people are also drawing the necessary lessons that it is not just about police reforms alone. It is about the fact that to change society, to make the police not to be killing people, is also the task of forming political parties, raising the question of political power, and changing, the economic and political system from the one that favors only the rich, while the mass majority wallows in abject poverty, to that in which the enormous resources of the society is put under the democratic control of those who are producing this. So people are going to draw revolutionary conclusions from what has happened in October, beyond, the question of the resolutions of the panels, itself.
Look, I'm not surprised at all. The problem is that the crisis of the Nigerian ruling class is deepening, and therefore they are going to get more and more irresponsible. They are scared, and when a ruling class gets scared about citizens, they are more dangerous. You see, if the question moves from whether people were killed or not to then whether an organization set up to find out is legal or illegal, it just tells you how bad things are going to get. And this thing is not new. It's just that our people are made to forget many of the things that happened in the past, under the military, even under civilian regimes of the ruling class. The invasion of Fela's mother's house, the killing of many farmers in Bakalori in 1982, and so on. We need to remember history and remember the character of the ruling class. That what they have been trying to do is to just manage what the British left for them, the exploitation and brutality that the British left for them. So I'm not surprised that they are dismissing the report of a judicial. But when our students were killed in ABU in 1986 under Babangida, the Vice Chancellor said only 4 people were killed. And when the Nigerian student movement and the university system and the Nigerian people decided to actually expose the brutality against our children in ABU, and a judicial panel was set up under Mustafa Akombi, that report was never published because Mustafa Akombi said exactly the same thing about the character of the Nigerian ruling class and the law enforcement agencies, that this will be justice things. So we are not surprised, and the Nigerian people need to know that the Nigerian ruling class has entered a stage in which they have decided to become enemies of the people. And our people need to they shouldn't be surprised at all about what people like Keyamo or Sage or somebody like that said. We are not surprised.